Far out west, beyond the furthest settlement, beyond the oldest hills, the world has not yet been made. The land surges like the sea. The sky is ablaze with strange lights. Vicious thunderstorms seem to dance the very world into being. Like an impressionist painting, the silhouettes of unimagined gods and demons shift within the maelstrom. Nameless, malformed creatures emerge from the dust itself. This is how author Felix Gilman imagines the edge of the world in his 2010 novel, The Half-Made World. Here, the western frontier is literally only half-made. Beyond it lies the true wilderness of the cosmos, the unmade world. And at the border between them, civilization struggles to find its foothold. I've seen a lot of stories and art and games that try to imagine what the edge of the world would look like if it had one. Not just an edge to the planet, an edge to existence as you know it. The edge of everything. Sometimes it looks like a white void. Sometimes it's an endless sea. Sometimes it's a raging primordial storm of creation. But in almost every case, no matter what kind of terrors accompany it, you sort of want to be there, don't you? For all kinds of different reasons, humans seem to feel themselves drawn to the brink, and not even they always know why. That's one of the things I love about the half-made world in particular. At its core, it's about this exact question: why humans feel so called to the edge of their world. It's about the kinds of people who travel there, who live there, who seek to go beyond. The book follows 3 very different characters with 3 very different motivations for reaching the world's edge. But they all seem to share one thing in common, something that all humans seem to share with them: a desperate longing to know what's at the edge of the world. Really quick, before the video starts, I just want to tell you about Foundry behind the machines. There is a lot that goes into making this show, and a lot you will probably never see. But our humans, bit by bit, have started to share that process. Sometimes they'll stream their research, long before a video ever makes it into the pipeline. Sometimes they'll make forum posts, brainstorming an idea. Thumbnails are one of the funnest things to work on here, and they do a lot of that too. And sometimes they'll just hang out and play games and stuff. It's all right there in our Discord server, available to anyone who supports Foundry anywhere. You could become a YouTube member, you could join our Patreon community, you could even subscribe right in Discord itself. All of them cost exactly the same amount and will get you access to anything and everything behind the machines. Foundry has always been about more than just video content. We make these videos to inspire and to be inspired. A big thanks to everyone who joins us in that process. We couldn't make this show without you. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Now, on to the video. This is Sub-Invigilator 3rd Class Lowry. That is his official designation within the vast, sprawling bureaucracy known as the Line. To call the Line a nation would be wrong. It's more of an industry. Just an industry. Not a corporation, not a company, an industry without any culture or government surrounding it at all. Like cogs in a machine, the servants of the Line toil tirelessly to bring their industry, their civilization, to the far west. Their railways cut across the desert, gouges in the horizon. Their massive, godlike train engines throw black smoke into the sky. Their domain expands out across the west, swallowing up settlement after settlement, unstoppable. When Lowry looks to the unmade world, roiling out there beyond the reach of progress, it makes him feel sick. Uncreation, to a man of the Line, is simply pre-creation, hideous, disorganized land. A world in need of taming, a world to be subdued, made orderly. In a strange way, it's that exact feeling of discomfort, that cloying need to make the yet unmade world, which draws him out to its edge. To be honest, I think this should actually sort of feel familiar to you. Think of old maps, their boundaries illustrated with strange monsters. In a way, exploration, discovery, and even understanding itself are sort of tied into this idea of destroying the unknown. How often have humans taken it for granted that whatever's beyond the edge of your world, it's meant to be plundered? Think of how many of the earliest expeditions to the Americas were motivated by the promise of riches. Think of how many people moved to the real world Wild West during the gold rush. Think of how every few years we see the same deluge of articles salivating over the prospect of mining asteroids. In the anime Made in Abyss, the edge of the world looks like a huge hole reaching deep into the earth. Unlike in the half-made world, the characters know there's a different world down there. Many different worlds, in fact. The descent, they know, is where their world ends, and the world of the abyss begins. The problem is, exploring the abyss is extremely dangerous. The deeper you go, the harder it becomes to surface. Trying to ascend after a long journey could cost an explorer not just their life, but their very humanity. And yet, despite the horrors that await them, explorers still travel into it every day. In fact, journeying into the abyss is something of an industry in this world. After all, there are things down there that they can use. Strange artifacts that could change their whole world if they can get them to the surface. There's a whole organization called the Delvers committed to mapping and understanding it. For them, it goes beyond finding the artifacts. They want to conquer the abyss. Obviously, the motivations of the Line and the Delvers are very different. One is a fascist industrial cult that worships mechanical gods. The other is an intrepid organization of adventurers. One is an obvious analog for Manifest Destiny and the colonization of the New World, the other an allegory for human hubris. But, standing at the edge of the world, they both share a common impulse: to push that boundary back. The Delvers see this fantastical world beneath their feet and position themselves as the heroes who will wrestle it into submission. Lowry doesn't even see a world beyond the boundary of his own. He just sees where it ends and how it could expand. They both see a boundary to be pushed back forever until it wraps on itself and the entire world is known, until it's controlled, until it has no edge left anymore at all. Unfortunately for them, if they want to push the edge of the world back, they'll have to go there first. This is John Creedmoor, bandit, Casanova, retired war veteran, and a famous agent of the gun. If the men of the Line are cogs in a machine, then the agents of the gun are the wrench in the works. Ungovernable agents of chaos painting the West red wherever they go. The two factions have been at war for a long, long time. Blown-up railways and dead linesmen have become the calling card of the gun. There aren't many agents left, but each of them is a living legend, the apotheosis of the dashing outlaw archetype. Part of that is because they literally are more than human. They're faster, stronger, smarter, with strange supernatural abilities. Their power comes from the demons who ride inside their guns, whispering from that cursed metal directly into their minds. The one thing the agents of the gun want more than anything? Freedom. Brutal liberty. The ability to do what they want, when they want. To live on the edge. It's the exact impulse that drove Creedmoor to enter a contract with his demon master so long ago. And now, it's what drives him out to the literal edge of the world. Turns out, when you're far enough from everything, not even your demons can tell you what to do. I think that's actually one of the strongest appeals of this whole idea of going out to the edge of the world. You notice it a lot with outlaws in general. They tend to linger on the fringes, just outside the long arm of the law. Close enough to cause trouble, far enough to avoid the repercussions. What they all want is to get out beyond the control of the known world and to assert their will in the vacuum that lawlessness provides. When you put it that way, I think Creedmoor's motivation is actually a very broadly shared one. In fact, swap out the desert with an ocean and you basically have pirates. Or at least how they look in fantasy. Whether it's Treasure Island, One Piece, or Sea of Thieves, pirates have come to define adventure. They go where nobody else dares, and they'll fight anyone who tries to stop them. Point to the place on the map where the monsters are, you expect pirates to be there too. There's a scene in the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie that I think encapsulates this sort of beautifully. It comes when the crew of the Black Pearl is trying to find their way into the afterlife, Davy Jones's locker, to save Jack. They have to pass through something called the Farthest Gate. What this actually means is that they literally have to sail off the edge of the world. Right before they plummet to their doom, Captain Barbossa says something that I feel speaks to the motivation of almost every outlaw.
We're good and lost now. For certain, you have to be lost to find the places can't be found.
To Barbossa, the edge of the world is an escape. He's saying that you have to be what the rational world would consider lost in order to be found. In the half-made world, Creedmoor could have lived the rest of his life in the no man's land of the West. He'd have been happy there, with his crude power leveraged so easily in that lawless land. But near the story's end, he's driven out to the very edge of the world, to the border of uncreation itself. And there, for the first time in years, he finds himself beyond the reach of his demonic master, finally alone in his own head. There, for that moment, out on the furthest brink of the world, he feels himself again, freed from all responsibility. No law to tell him how to live, no demon to exact a toll on his living. For the first time in a long time, really, truly, living on the edge. To him and all the other outlaws, anyone who ever wanted to escape the known world, the edge of the world is a world unto itself. This is Dr. Liv Alverhuisen. She's a psychologist at a prestigious academy in the East, far removed from the chaos of the West. Unlike Laurie and Creedmoor, she wasn't born into the Great War that defines the half-made world. She's not an outlaw, nor is she a cog in the machine of progress. She comes from a fully made world, one that's sensible, composed, understood. And yet, here she is, leaving her perfectly comfortable life behind to travel out into the uncreated West. Her colleagues are completely baffled by her choice. Liv has trouble understanding her own motivations. They're not rational or practical in the least. She just has to go. Something about the edge of the world calls to her. The wonder, the curiosity is almost overwhelming. Despite all the breath I've spent on the motivations of the other characters, that exact irrationality is also what I think makes her the most relatable. Even when you have no practical reason to, this is what humans do. You just can't seem to resist. You're almost always reaching out to the edge of the world, the edge of what you know. Roald Amundsen, the leader of the first crew to reach the South Pole, was primarily driven by an obsession with the Arctic that he had developed when he was a child. When Magellan set out from Spain to find a sea route to Indonesia, he continued to journey long after discovering that there was no profit to be made, just for the sake of seeing it through. Charles Darwin was a self-funded gentleman scientist aboard the HMS Beagle, traveling far beyond the boundaries of the cushy, aristocratic world he was born into, not unlike Liv herself. And don't think you're exempt from this urge just because you aren't on a boat at sea. In living rooms and computer chairs across the world, people find ways to the very edge of their digital worlds. Here's a clip one of our own team members took when they no-clipped through a wall in the game Unravel 2. They saw the void and just couldn't resist jumping in. There's a YouTube series by Kurt J. Mack where he spent over a decade doing the same thing. It's a journey on foot to the edge of Minecraft's infinite map, a place called the Farlands, where the world generation breaks down and the land takes on a strange alien character. You could just teleport there if you wanted to, that's what most people do. But for Mac and the millions of people who have watched him over the years, the journey is the whole point. In your imaginations, fiction of all kinds, you try to picture what the very edge of all understanding could even be. White voids, black expanses of nothingness, a restaurant at the end of the universe, the place where the sidewalk ends. I think it's easy to look at all of that and to think that it's kind of disappointing. I mean, if there's nothing at the world's edge, why go there? Well, I also think that's exactly the point. That blank slate is what you come to see. It's not always a practical urge, expanding the domain of the world you know, or finding something useful to bring back. Maybe you don't want to carve out a place at the world's edge that you can escape to. For Liv, and most of us imagining the world's edge, it's about possibility. Because the edge of the world we know is also where the rest of the world begins. The journey to the edge of the half-made world is a harrowing one for all those who attempt it. Lowry finds that the boundary is not quite so easily forced back and ends up dying on the way, another replaceable cog in the machine. Creedmoor is eventually released from his demonic master and finds true freedom to be a bit more bitter than he expected. Liv loses friends on the journey and sees a great deal of death and suffering. She's permanently scarred in ways that will never heal. To me, all of this makes sense. Of course there's a cost to reaching the edge of the world. Of course the journey is difficult. The edge of the observable universe is 46.7 billion light-years away. In literal terms, it's almost impossible even to imagine going there. But in metaphorical terms as well, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of courage to seek the edge of the world you know. Your world is not just geography, after all. It consists of beliefs, perspectives, all of your preconceptions about people, society, reality. Once you reach the edge, those preconceptions shatter, often painfully. So, perhaps, like Lowry, you feel the urge to push that boundary back and expand the truth of your world until it covers everything. Maybe, like Creedmoor, you see a refuge there, another world that will liberate you from the oppression of the one you know. I think, on some level, most humans at least feel what Liv felt. You see the edge of your world and you realize that if you ever want to see the rest of the world, you're going to have to travel beyond that boundary. Whatever drives you out to the edge of your world, I think we can all agree on one thing. It's not just a fantasy. Your world does have an edge, and you can go there if you're brave enough. Actually, that's kind of a big part of this fantasy, isn't it? The hardship, the journey out there. In so much of this fiction, you're not just pushing beyond the boundaries of your own metaphorical world, you're pushing beyond the limits of what you thought you were capable of. There's an element of willing frustration here that I don't see in a lot of places. In fact, the only one that comes to mind immediately is Dark Souls. Dark Souls, and basically anything Hidetaka Miyazaki has touched, is made of frustration. That's a huge part of what you come for in those games, and I just love that part of it. I love the audacity to push the audience to their absolute brink, make the whole experience difficult. I love it so much, in fact, we actually made an entire micro-documentary just about that. It's called The Frustration Artist, and it's all about the bizarre philosophy that led Miyazaki to create, what I would argue, are some of the most ambitious pieces of media ever made. It's actually part of a whole documentary series we made called Worldsmiths. Every episode is dedicated to a different one of our favorite authors. Clive Barker, H.P. Lovecraft, Arthur Conan Doyle. It is, by far, some of the best content we've ever made. You can watch all 6 episodes, along with all our other exclusive stuff, which there is a lot of, over on Nebula. You've probably heard us talk about Nebula before. You've probably heard a bunch of creators talk about it. There's a good reason for that. Nebula is what made Worldsmiths and a bunch of other projects like it possible. It's a creator-owned, creator-built platform designed for projects like Worldsmiths. Worldsmiths is just one of countless other original projects over there. Lindsay Ellis alone has about 7 different hour-long specials. Abby Thorne, the creator of Philosophy Tube, directed an actual feature-length film called Dracula's Ex-Girlfriend. Did you know Tirzu has an original series where he explains the behaviors of different animals as if he's playing as them in a video game? I didn't. Normally, Nebula is around $6 a month, but if you use our link, go.nebula.tv/talefoundry, you can get it for just $36 a year, which is only $3 a month. Or if you, very understandably, don't want to subscribe, you can also just get a lifetime membership. That's right, pay $300 one time and then never again. No matter how big Nebula gets, how prestigious its projects, you will always have access. Again, visit go.nebula.tv/talefoundry to get Nebula for just $3 a month or $300 for your entire life. If you like the idea of not only getting access to exclusive projects from your favorite creators, but being a part of the reason they exist, join Nebula. It is one of the best ways to support creators like us. Anyway, that's all for this one. Thanks for watching and keep making stuff up. I'll see you next week. Bye!